The following episode of the Comics and Crypto podcast is for informational purposes only, and anything expressed by the hosts or their guests is solely their opinion. This podcast does not constitute financial advice, and anyone wishing to invest should seek their own independent financial or professional help. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Hare, and I know comics.
Hi, I'm Spencer Vogel, and I know crypto.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee Loader, and I don't know shit. This is the Comics and Crypto podcast.
Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, collector's world in a digital age. Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, it's where the next billionaires will be made. It's comics and crypto.
Today on the podcast, we have the former chief content officer of Palm NFT and Batcows, and the current CEO and founder of the Broadside project. Please welcome once again, Matt Mason.
Matt, hey!
What's going on?
Good to see you guys.
So good to see you. It's been a few months.
It's been a little while. It's felt like years, but it's been a few months.
Oh man, you've been a busy guy.
Yeah. No restaurant. We've been having a lot of fun. It's been really, really amazing.
We've been heavily involved in pretty much everything that you've been involved in.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and thanks for having me back. It's great to be back on the show with you guys.
Once I saw that your name was attached to the Broadsider project, I didn't know anything about it, but it was enough to make me want to mint. So
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If it's any consolation, I still don't think I know anything about the Broadside project. Every morning I wake up, it's the community's taking it somewhere else, which is amazing.
well, we'll see what we can get into today then. Yeah.
It sounds like there's gonna be a lot of discovery today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this podcast is very heavily focused on collecting, we love to start with a question around collecting. And last time we had you on, you mentioned that you were very into collecting a lot of Takashi Murakami stuff and historical NFTs. So curious about some of the things that maybe you've gotten into since then.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't had a lot of time for collecting new things. I guess there's been like other NFT projects that I've just along the way like picked things up that friends of ours have been doing and things that have been sort of involved with Broadside. Our friend Robin, aka Supermassive from formerly Defiant, launched Based AF. Like I was really happy to get one of those, and I've been really excited to watch what Robin and his team are building in terms of building a media company around with the foundation of it being an avatar project that's then on that journey. That was really interesting to me to see but honestly I've just been slammed. Like I would love to go out and be collecting some stuff or discovering stuff, but I haven't seen too much stuff. Actually no, that's a lie. I minted a Mukpepe today.
What's that?
This is a brand new AI generative collection of, I can't remember how many, but it is capped. It's like 4,000 or something. It's from a friend of mine called Jason Rosenstein, who ran a really amazing platform called Portion, which was a fine art NFT platform that launched on the Palm Network in 2021. Jason and I are good friends. He's just started this amazing project called Mukpepe's. You go in and you sort of type in what you want this Pepe meme to be, and then it will generate a Pepe meme NFT.
Oh, cool.
So those are live now, and that's super cool. And I love the combination of AI and Web3 and Pepe memes. It's just perfect. So yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I collected something today. In fact, that was this morning. That was the last time.
Awesome.
I'm such a DJ, and I forget that I'm a DJ. I forget NFTs I minted this morning.
Yeah, you mint them on like 3 hours of sleep, and then you forget about it. It happens all the time. Yeah. So our last interview that we had you on for, which was I think almost a year ago at this point, we focused heavily on Palm NFT and the Batcow project. But since then, you've moved on to a new project, and I'm very curious. What was it that made you want to leave an established project like that and become a founder?
Yeah, well, I haven't moved on.
Oh, okay. You are still working with them? Cool.
I'm still working with Palm NFT Studio.
Nice.
In a capacity as an advisor, and I'm still super close to that team. I spoke to a couple of people at the Palm team just yesterday. I'm very involved and emotionally invested in and invested in Backhouse and all the work we're doing in DC, and everything else Palm NFT Studio is doing. So there wasn't a lot of push in terms of me leaving Palm. That was actually a really tough decision. The pull was Broadside. The pull was this project that we did that we very much sort of went into thinking we're going to do a really fun, very, very sort of immersive storytelling NFT project. And we're doing it in the middle of a bear market. Like, this is going to be, no one's quitting their day jobs. We're going to build a great community. This is a side project. And was very transparent with the team at Palm. Everyone knew I was building it. I've been working on Broadside since before Palm. My first interview to join Palm NFT Studios, employee number one, the first thing I said to Dan Heyman, the CEO, was, I've got this other thing I'm doing. It's called Broadside. It's like this decentralized sci-fi story. He's like, yeah, do it. It's cool. And that was great. And I think that, you know, with Palm NFT Studio, we very much tried to build, and I think this is the only way to build a company in Web3. Like, you're going to try and hire people, and if they're not already working on a Web3 project of their own, are you sure you're hiring the right person? Like, that's the only type of people you want. Yeah. So we talked about this, not in the context necessarily of Broadside, but just as we were growing a company, it's like, everybody that we want to hire, they're probably doing things already, and we should create room for people to do things. And if the thing blows up, then the thing blows up. But you weren't going to keep them anyway. If you want, you're not going to get them to anyway. If you're like, no, you can't do another NFT project. Of course, people are doing that who are in the space. I didn't necessarily think that's what was going to happen to me. But with Broadside, like we minted out and it was rolling. It was, it was top of the OpenSea charts for a couple of weeks, and it's like, oh my gosh, cool. But that wasn't me. That wasn't when I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to quit Palm NFT Studio and go and do this full time. The decision to leave was just about, it was really about the community and the amount of work that needed to be done, and just the amount of hours in the day that I have, and seeing something happen with Broadside that wasn't the thing that we intended to build or do, but it was sort of where the community took it next. So we built this project. We started doing these pirate radio shows on Twitter. Music's a big part of the Broadside project. So we started playing like this fake pirate radio station from the future that would broadcast on Twitter Spaces once a week. And a couple of people in the community, some amazing artists, a guy called Neon Glitch and a guy called Eclectic Method, built us this dedicated space in the metaverse called the Broadside Rave Bunker. Like, partying and gaming together in one space is a big part of the Broadside story. And the community started showing up every week, raving in this metaverse space, and then adding in game mechanics and making up their own games in there. And that was the moment when Vector and I were like, oh, wait a second, like, there are companies spending tens of billions of dollars trying to make this happen, and they're doing it's Super Bowl sized concerts or giant brand activations. And this thing we've built, like, this is, I should go back a bit. So if you watched the last interview, you might know this. Vector Meldrew, the co-founder of Broadside, and I, we started a magazine together back in the day called Rewind Magazine. It became the #1 music magazine in the UK. It was the first magazine to write about grime and dubstep, and a lot of these types of subcultures that grew on 1 or 2 pirate radio stations or 1 or 2 nightclubs. And we were there in the room 20 years ago when dubstep was literally 50 weirdos on a Monday night from the garage music scene. And we all thought garage music's going to take over the world because it's pop music. And it did take over Europe for a couple of years, but not the US. But on a Monday night, we'd go and listen to the weird records we thought nobody in the world in their right mind would ever want to listen to, except the bunch of freaks in that room. And that music was dubstep. And nobody at the time was just like, let's just get together and build. The night was called Forward, and it was about pushing forward, progress, experiment, be weird. And that was the thing that ended up on a billboard in Vegas 20 years later. That's the thing that scaled into a multi-billion-dollar industry. And when Vector and I saw what was going on in this rave bunker with Broadside, and it was this unique mix of a community that's into Web3, that is into this story and this world and collectibles, that is adding game mechanics to this room where there's already social mechanics, and it is very literally a dance floor. It was like, this looks like the room where this looks like dubstep 20 years ago. And maybe Broadside's not going to scale, but this is absolutely how the metaverse is going to scale. It's not going to happen without culture. It's going to be rooms like this. Nobody's really building, like, Fortnite's amazing. The giant arena where Diplo can do a DJ set that Fortnite built next to Fortnite is amazing, but it's still 150 people on a server. You combine them onto an improbable stack where you can suddenly get 10,000, 30,000 people in a room, and you put something in a confined space where there's streaming, there's gaming, there's social mechanics in one room, and it's concentrated. You're going to grow culture. And that was the moment we're like, we have product market fit for this already. We have a community and an MVP product. We're doing it. Let's go do this for real, because this is important. This is how you scale the metaverse.
We're definitely broadsiders ourselves. And for anyone out there who doesn't know about Broadside, can you give them an explanation of what that is? And also your company Dazzleship as well.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to start, right?
Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah, so look, Broadside, very simply, at its heart, is a collection of decentralized heroes. We minted out 7,290 3D Broadside avatars in November. The collection, it has 3,000 traits in it. We think it has more traits than any other NFT collection in history. 201 billion total combinations. We curated that down to the 7,290 Broadsiders that looked the most awesome. And we minted those. They sold out. We partnered with OpenSea, took over OpenSea, minted out in just under 24 hours. Since mint, every single month, we've been dropping episodes of a story to each Broadsider. So the story of Broadside is this group of 7,000 kids. They play this game called this augmented reality first-person shooter in the future called Broadside. One of the kids, who's anonymous, hacks the game because they want to improve it, but the hack in the game hacks everything else in the world of 2037. And the big centralized organizations that control all of this come down on this kid like a ton of bricks, and they're forced to go into hiding on the run and mobilize the other 7,000 kids to fight back against this centralized force. I won't spoil the story, but you're one of these 7,000 kids, and your Broadsider has a name. And when you're reading the story, you're reading it from the point of view that you and your Broadsider is the star of the story. And all the other people reading the story are having exactly the same experience. So we wanted to do this decentralized hero, but this sort of collective storytelling experience for what we're calling sort of phase one of Broadside. So this story, it's a 3-act story. It kind of reads like an action movie. We really wanted to set the table and show people what this world is. And then your Broadsider comes with either full commercial rights, so you can do anything and you might imagine with your Broadsider. You don't have to ask our permission. But the 75% of the Broadsiders are full commercial rights. 25% are CC0. The CC0 Broadsiders feature art from friends of ours and collections that we either knew and asked their permission, or collections that were CC0, or some collections of where we actually licensed the work from the holders. So you have collections like Rec Guys from our friend OSF. You have work from X-Copy featured in Broadside, Moonbirds, Goblin Town, Nouns, Grills Gang, work from Electric Method. We licensed to CryptoPunk. There's a one-of-one CryptoPunk Broadsider hidden in the collection. So there's all this different work from other collections. And if your Broadsider has CC0 artwork on it, your Broadsider is CC0, which means you and everyone else in the world can actually do other things with that Broadsider. So we wanted to give people a story. We wanted to give them the rights. We wanted to give them building blocks to go and do whatever they wanted with them. We've seen, members of the community are building a Roblox game with their Broadsider. There's a courier company someone started in Florida. There's Mudsiders Coffee. There's a restaurant in Germany with Broadside branding. There's tons of merch and people just make things all the time. An Indy car came in 9th place in the Indy 500 last week, had a Broadsider stuck on the tail. Like, it's just amazing. Like, we wake up and you see that people are doing crazy things with their Broadsiders, and nothing could make us happier. It's amazing.
Wow. That's so awesome. It's been really fun to see the sort of storytelling aspect. And like for me personally, I've been a filmmaker out in the Bay Area for the past 15 years. So storytelling is such an important part of my life. Why do you think storytelling is really important for NFT projects?
It's important for humanity, right? It's the only reason, like, it's the reason we can organize in groups larger than 150 people is because we can share fiction with each other. So there's something so fundamental about storytelling. And like you said, look, I've been obsessed with it my entire life. You know, I've written books, I've sold screenplays. Vector and I produced scripted TV shows together that have aired all over Europe. We are storytellers, and it's something that's in our blood. And Broadside was a story we could never find a home for. Initially, it was written as, I wrote a book called The Pirate's Dilemma, which was a non-fiction book about piracy. And Penguin Books in the US said to me, would you write a fictional story about piracy in the future? And I was just like, oh, that sounds amazing, of course. And it was for a book of short stories they were doing back in 2007. And so I wrote that short story, and then the book it was going to be for was called Generation Activist. And it was a bunch of young authors, because I was young back then. And the lead author was Barack Obama, and he was going to write this short story. And then Obama's people said to Penguin, we don't think it's a good idea that he has a book coming out called Generation Activist before he becomes president, which I think was the right move. Yeah, so he became president and Broadside got scrapped, and I think that was a worthy trade-off. But I had this story that I had like the rights to, and it was like, okay, what else can we do with this? And it was in development at DreamWorks for some time as a screenplay, and they were like, well, we don't understand what a decentralized hero is, and like, also this is like a $300 million movie, and you're not James Cameron, so and it was in like a bunch of people working on it. Caitlin Burns, who's the head of story at Palm Entity Studio, she and I worked together on it for a long time, like developing it as a story, and it was at other production companies, but it just sort of never went. It kept going its turnaround and never going anywhere, and I get the rights back to it, and I sold other things in the meantime as a writer. But really, I was at BitTorrent, I was at Sony, I was at Kraken, I was doing other things, and I really wasn't, writing full time. But Vector's like, he's just been a friend of mine since Rewind, and he's runs a 3D animation studio in the UK. And him and Caitlin Burns and a few other people would just ping me once in a while, like, oi, what are you doing with Broadside? Like, what are you doing with Broadside? Like, that has to live. I'm like, nah, it's too hot. I'm like, it's been rejected 100 times. No one stands it. I love it. You love it, but we're weird. No one's going to get it. No one cares about decentralization. Like, it's just not, there's not a market for this story. And then when NFTs came around, Vector was like, this is the medium and Broadside is the mess. Like, this is perfect. We can do decentralized heroes. Bored Apes are decentralized heroes. CryptoPunks are decentralized heroes. The difference is Broadside is you've already written the story and you've developed it for 10 years. It's there. We just have to apply it to the medium. I can design the characters. Like, let's do it. I was like, oh my God, you're right. So we started, this was 2021, early 2021. We're like, yep, let's go. And then he starts selling out work on every platform imaginable and auctioning pieces at Bonhams and just, crushing it as a crypto artist. And I become employee number one at the Palm NFT Studio. And suddenly I'm up till 3 a.m. every day with that, trying to build this team. And we're both like, dude, I can't right now. And he's like, yeah. Let's get to it. And it was about this time last year. It was just after Backhouse had launched. We're rolling with that. But it was very much, it was a month or so after Backhouse when it was like, oh, the market really has changed. It's a bear market. Vector pinged me and he's like, look, we're not going to make anywhere near as much money as if we'd done this a year ago. But this is the right time for Broadside because we'll get a community that's really, really here for story and really here for all the things that we care about. And it won't be all the flippers and paper hands. It'll be a real community. And I was like, I love that. You're exactly right. And again, it was like we were there in the bear markets of a bunch of different music scenes when literally things like grime and dubstep, they went back to being 50 people in a room. Like, they grew up, they blew up, the major labels threw loads of money at them, and then it sort of goes pop and they go back underground. And that's when the work starts. So like we've both seen this in crypto a few times now, but more importantly, like culturally, we're like, no, this is, if you get the chance to do something in this type of bear market, in a subculture and in crypto, like, yeah, this is the moment for something like this. So you know, I think Broadside, that's what it has going for it. It's an amazing storytelling project. I love the art Vector created. It's definitely very novel, but the main reason I think it's amazing is the community that's there now, the things that they're doing, the way they show up every day, like the way they show up. Yesterday we had a sound clash with the Beat Boot bots, which is another big, and the Broadside community is just there. They're just in the spaces, bones up, just mashing up. And it's just like, when people see the community, they're like, holy shit. Like OSF, who runs the biggest space on Rug Radio, was like, this is the coolest space I've ever been on. And like Supermassive from the Defiant, same thing. Like the people who run the coolest spaces in Web3 keep saying to us, I've never seen a community quite like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. Yeah. And that's, I think, you know, that's story, that's music, that's culture, that's this framework that has given, like, the people who come into Broadside, it just infuses people with this spirit to go and role play and rave together and build together and do all these crazy things. And it just all hangs together because everybody is sharing the same fiction, is in that same world.
What do you think has been, I guess, the secret to keep the community so engaged during this bear market?
Play old grime records on Twitter.
It gets the people going.
Yeah, it's like, we were like, let's play old grime records because they still sound like they're from the future, and most people in North America never heard these records. And people are like, what the fuck is this weird music you're playing? It's like, it's 3 from 2037. And it's like, it's like, it still sounds like it might be, right? I think the music and just like having the warehouse, the rave bunker, having the story dropping, and so people are still here, they're coming back, they're reading the story, they're sharing the story together, and they're telling their own stories. There's so many like ways you can sort of take things. You don't have to read the story. Some people haven't read it at all, but they still show up to the rave every week. Some people are reading the story and they've never been to the rave. There's just a few different lanes you can go down, but if you stay engaged, if you like storytelling, there's ways to stay engaged and be rewarded. If you like music, there's ways to stay together and be rewarded. And if you like community, if you like fashion, if you like culture, there's all these things we're doing now. We launched the Bones in-game currency last week. People are collecting bones. You can earn IRL rewards. The first one we've revealed are these Broadside ski masks that a lot of the characters wear in the collection. And I
really want one.
Yeah, no, they're there. The
Spencer's big skier.
Huge
big
skier.
skier. Yeah.
I don't know. They're more kind of rave ready than ski ready, but
but I take a photo on the mountain at least just to show my support. You know.
Yeah. I can't wait for them to ship, but yeah, they're on the way. And I can't wait for those to start getting in the hands of people in the community. Beyond that, we are working on a number of different capsule collections from the 3,000 traits in Broadside. We designed them with an eye on, we're going to really make these things. But a lot of the clothing in Broadside is anti-surveillance clothing. Like, we wrote it into the story that there are these hoodies called D-tag hoodies, and drones can't detect them and these things. It's like, there's ways to do things like that in real life, so we're doing them. Like, everything's got to have, like, if it's in the story, like, let's bring it into the world.
Wow.
In the world, there's a type of music called 3D bass that you can see, right? Everyone's got AR enabled vision. You can see bass lines pumping out speakers, and these kids use this bass music, like low end frequencies, to brick the operating systems of these security robots in the story. And we're like, okay, well, obviously we've got to make 3D bass happen in real life. So we're working on that. We haven't announced where we're doing our first 3D bass show yet, but we're doing a really big production at a very big NFT conference where the opening party will be IRL 3D bass for the first time in the history of the world.
Oh shit.
I love hearing that your patience paid off, because it's just like Christopher Nolan when he made Inception. I mean, that script, I think, sat in his drawer for over 10 years as well.
Everyone's got a script in their drawer. Like, James Cameron Avatar was 10 years. George Lucas couldn't make Star Wars, and then he miraculously found a way to do it, like just about pull it off. And when James Cameron saw it, he was like, shit, man, because he had already written Avatar and he wanted to do it. It was like that, and it was, wait, had he written Avatar or maybe it was something else? Anyway, he said, shit, he was jealous. But every creator, every writer has got a script in their drawer that they think they will never produce. Every creator, every entrepreneur has a pitch or a business plan or something. Most of us have tons of these. I've got so many bad ideas in drawers.
You should see my notes app.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. I wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, it's Uber for whatever, but it's a metaverse. And then I wake up like, no, that's terrible. But Broadside was this one that, like, the people I shared it with kept saying, like, yo, you got to fucking do this. Like, I don't care how, but you got. And Vector, God bless him. If it wasn't for him, it would still be in the drawer, because I've got 100 of these bad ideas, and like, nah, it's never. But it was one that we kept just like, we couldn't stop kind of doing stuff to it and rewriting it, develop, like, could not stop. It's like, yeah, this one, there was something always special about it. I just assumed it was never going to happen. But yeah, waiting, like, if it had come out 10 years ago as anything else, it would have run its course. It would have been the wrong time. It would have been a smaller thing than I think the way we did it now, where it's like, you know, I'm so proud of the way it's pushed storytelling and NFTs, and the reception it's had from people in Web3 who are into storytelling, and from storytellers outside of Web3 who like didn't know anything about NFTs, were like, wait, like, you did what? Like show me a sci-fi author who had 20,000 people they had to strike off their allow list the day before because there was just too many people, and that 20,000 was probably bots. Like, even in the depths of crypto winter, the things that we deal with in this space, like, if you've got a project that does resonate with people, it's so much easier than launching an app or launching a song or writing a book or literally any other creative pursuit. Even now, especially now, in fact, I think whenever people ask me, like, oh yeah, did I miss the boat with NFTs? It's like, if you wanted to make $10 million for selling a picture of a rabbit holding a Bitcoin, yeah, you missed the boat. Yeah. Like, no, if you want to do something thoughtful with blockchain as a creative medium, there's never been a better time. Like, jump in, do this. I'll help you. Like, that's my advice to everyone. It's like, if you're here for money, probably not. If you do something imaginative, yeah, you'll probably make some money, but don't do it for that reason. Do it because you can see a way to do something imaginative.
So what does none of them are as strong as all of us mean to the project and also to you?
Yeah, it's a line that the hero of the story, it's like a battle cry that the hero that goes up in the story. Actually, that was a spoiler, it hasn't yet, but it will. It's like this pivotal moment in the story when they just scream it and then these kids just attack. But it's about how do you bring together a decentralized group of people around a shared idea or vision, in a way that's optimistic, in a way that's violent, in a way that changes things. Like, that's very much how it's used in the story. Like, they can't hurt us. There's too many of us, and we trust each other. We are a peer-to-peer network. I guess sort of the way it's used at the kind of meta level across Broadside, the way Broadside exists in the world, is we wanted this to be like super, super inclusive, not just of all the different people that have come into the Broadside project from really different areas in Web3. Like, there's definitely people that came in from Backhouse or VEVE or the sort of IP NFT collectible audience. And then there's people who came in who follow Vector and, you know, have been collecting stuff on Foundation and Super Rare and been more the sort of crypto art end of things. And it's actually really amazing to see these two groups of people who really don't interact much. There's so many bubbles even inside of Web3, which is so small, that don't talk to each other. And to see them talk to each other, it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that's what this means. And then we've sort of used this as a lens, you know, to sort of approach all the other projects that we wanted to collaborate with. Like, none of them as strong as all of us. That was the kind of mantra that meant we felt comfortable. Like, Vector and Xcopy are friends, but he said Xcopy gave us the blessing to use all of his work in Broadside before he made it CC0. Like, he was having that conversation with Vector, like, yeah, put all of this in Broadside, I'll give you permission. And then he was like, you know what? I'm just making all this CC0 anyway. Wow. And talking to so many, you know, like OSF and the Rec guys, like, we weren't really tight with them until we did Broadside. And then OSF's like, all right, I like this, and let me come in the raid bunker. And then he's like, oh shit, you guys are cool. And that we just sort of have this, and we're not the only NFT project like this. I think because the only people here, like the speculators have gone, right? A lot of the grifters have gone. They're AI consultants now. But the people who are still here building PFP projects, we already care about this shit and we're having fun. And there's no like, oh, fuck those guys. It's like, you know, I see projects mint. I'm just blown, like a kick or beast, fucking blown away. Amazing and so good to see happen in that market. And then we realized, like, oh shit, we've actually been in the DMs with Raspy for months. Oh, it's that guy. Oh my god. Okay, we've got to get him in the raid bunker. We got to do it. You know, like if we see other projects doing stuff, like we're just trying to find ways to, like, all right, how do we collaborate? How do we all work together? Because there's like 300,000 people here. That's it. So if you're not coming at this from the mindset that none of them are as strong as all of us, we're all going to lose. Like, you know, we're not all going to make it, but we have to stand together, I think, for us, for the industry to survive. And that, it's weird. It sort of took on this different meaning, which is like, yeah, like, of course we're all going to work together right now because everybody who's still here is doing things for the right reasons.
Totally agree. Yeah, no, it is very refreshing to, I guess, see mostly for the most part. There's a lot of positivity. There's been some, I think, a lot of negativity from outside the NFT space recently that we've seen with like the Cookie Monster announcement with Sesame Street. But it's been very cool to see, you know, the people who are still here defending the space and still being so excited about it, you know, even despite it being in a huge bear market.
IP NFTs and big brands doing this, I think it's never been harder. I think it's not an advantage coming in with Cookie Monster and X million Cookie Monster followers on Twitter, because they are going to get the wrong end of the stick. The Web3 community that's here already, they're like no, the hostility is so, it's sort of a double-edged sword. And you know, I found it frustrating at times, especially working on some of these big IP NFT projects. I think Backhouse and DC, it's kind of gotten a pass from Web3, and it's also sort of not really, that was always designed to, like, we're going to grow a project for comic book fans, and you don't have to be an expert in crypto to understand this. Like, that's the whole kind of value proposition of what we're building at Palm. And we built that, and it's survived and become a business, and has an audience that's really there. But if you're coming in now and you're a big brand, it's really tough to talk to the Web3 audience. They're gonna, you know, like, you come in and be like, hey guys, look, I've got this cool film or whatever. They'll be like, fuck you, we want inscribed ordinals, you know. Like, people, the mindset is just like, with people who are super into Web3 are getting more, they want it more complicated. They don't want a mint page, they want a mint straight off Explorer. They want crazy things where it's like, those things are cool. I'm not knocking those things. I love to see the experimentation and the commitment to decentralization and to the philosophies of Web3 at every level in a project. That's always amazing. We got to also make this easy for people. We got to show people why this matters if we want this to grow. And there's a tension there. And then the other part is the brands themselves. Like, no brand on earth that didn't start in Web3 understands the order of doing things here. Like, the way you make something is you make it, and then you market it, and then you launch it, and then people buy it, and then you're kind of done. You know, you might have customer service or something, but like Web3, it's not. Like, make something, and if you're lucky enough to mint it out, that is when the hard work starts, and it gets much harder, and it gets much like, there's a honeymoon period where it's cool, and then it's like, your floor price is going to go down, and the people flooring it are going to be shouting at you in Discord, why is the price going down? Because you're flooring it. And like, it's like, you can't watch that stuff. Your family, it's like, look, like, I can't think about the short-term market mechanics of this. If I'm not thinking long-term about building sustainable projects and business, it's not going anywhere anyway. And like, we're all learning that. Like, this whole thing's a couple of years old, and everybody, you know, Yuga Labs is learning that. Everybody, no matter how much success you've had, is learning, how do you balance, I sold a scarce collection with, I want to build a long-term business that I can open up to more people. And but the Web2 brands coming in here are like, it's really hard to think like that if you've built a multi-billion-dollar business that doesn't think like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm really excited for the future where people are going to use NFTs without realizing they're using NFTs.
You see a gamer in the same breath say, I hate NFTs. Oh, cool. Someone just bought a skin for 160K. It's like, wait a second, what? Like, what if you could take that skin with you?
You can rent it, especially people who are really obsessed with Pokemon, which is something I love to explain to people. Have an opportunity to use that Pokemon characters in AR and battle them and watch them fight and have an opportunity to own that Pokemon. You can trade them, you can sell them, but you can't only do that with NFTs. It's the only way it can be done. And people don't really realize that when they start using that technology, then they're going to realize it. It's going to connect the dots.
I think there's been a failure of imagination, I think, on the general public's part to understand why NFTs would be fun in games, but actually the onus is on us in Web3. And the failure of imagination there has been the first NFT or Web3 games that have been built are basically spreadsheets. And they've, you know, with an 8-bit game sort of layered over the top, but really it's like a financial instrument that you're playing with. You're farming.
They're not actually fun to play.
It's not actually fun to play, and it's really hard to make a game that is fun to play. Like the craft of making a AAA game that just bangs, where that core toy, that core mechanic is so satisfying that you want to play that game again and again and again. Like, I mean, you know, that's such a tough, that's as tough as releasing a hit movie or writing a #1 song. It's at least as difficult as those things. If gaming is going to be the way that Web3 scales, those are the things that people have to do. And I think a lot of people now in Web3 gaming are coming around to that and understanding that. And you know, we're seeing people in traditional gaming like Square Enix today sort of unveiled their next game, and we're starting to see that. And look, just knowing behind closed doors, like I've worked on a AAA game Web3 franchise that's never going to come out for over a year. There's lots of things we got to work on at Palm that maybe in 20 years' time we can talk about, but we can't talk about that are not coming out. Like 2021, there was so much stuff, and you know, not that there isn't still a ton of stuff happening, but a lot of stuff went away, especially in gaming, where game companies were like, we're just too scared of the negative sentiment. We don't want to do that. And so look, I got to work on a bunch of projects that probably will never see the light of day, but learned a lot about. And I've run a game studio in the past, not a AAA studio, but like a mobile casual studio at Sony Pictures and GSN. And look, getting the mechanics right and not thinking about blockchain, like thinking about the mechanic. And then once you've got something that bangs, just thinking about, all right, this is great. What's the business model? Does blockchain apply? And if it doesn't, don't use it. There's a rule that we in Broadside, the Stratford Rex rule of crypto that we talk about. If something can be a giant spreadsheet, it should be a giant spreadsheet. Like, I love decentralization. I'm here for it since BitTorrent. But like, just it's hard. Don't, like, if you don't have to do it, don't do it. Like, just build the spreadsheet. It's way easier. Like, we just launched Bones, this in-game currency. Yeah. Bones is a spreadsheet. It's not a token.
Yeah. We didn't. I love that you guys didn't launch a token. Yeah, you don't need one. Yeah,
we don't need one. It's like, did you do enough engagement to get a Bally? That can be a spreadsheet. We don't need to set up a foundation in the Cayman Islands, so we're not going to. Yeah, it's like it's really difficult to do a token well, and if you don't do it well, it's bad for the entire crypto industry. So I'm very much about the right appropriate application of decentralized technology.
What are some of the ways that people can earn bones?
So you can earn bones by, if you hold a broadsider, you're earning 10 bones a day. If you delist or soft stake your broadsider, you earn an additional 40 bones a day. If you engage with us, like we do certain tweets, where if you retweet them or like them, you'll automatically earn some amount of bones for that. We are setting up a system so that when you come and party in the Broadside Rave Bunker, we're logging every wallet that came in, and we're adding bones to your account if you've got a broadsider. That took a bit of coordination between the Monoverse crew, which are amazing, where the Broadside Bunker is built, and the Top Dog crew, who built the Bones ecosystem, and they've got an amazing rewards platform. So there's been a few things like that where we've had to marry our spreadsheet with someone else's, and we're rolling out more ways that you'll be able to earn bones. The other thing we're rolling out with Bones is kind of an XP system underneath it that will balance. It's not just about holding unlisted broadsiders for the most amount of bones. If you're really, really engaging, you'll get these XP points that sort of weight things differently, so that we're rewarding engagement just as much as we're rewarding just people who are the whales who are holding a ton of broadsiders. And there are people who like, I can't remember the price of a bally was. It's like 7,200 bones for a ski mask. Like, all right, it's going to take people like a couple months. That's good. And like 24 hours later, there's a few whales who like, I've got all 3 colors of ski masks. Where are they? Yeah. But we've got enough ski masks for everybody.
Well, before we finish up the interview, are there any announcements or updates you'd like to give our audience about Broadside?
You know what? We had so many big updates last week. We've got it's March 15th today. The next episodes 6 and 7 are about to come out. We're getting those ready. They'll be dropping next week. That's the next big thing coming from us. And then look, there's just a ton of stuff behind the scenes going on with Broadside. Like I quit my full-time job to come and do this. And there's a million things going on behind the scenes in terms of what we're doing, what we're building next that I can't talk about just yet. Suffice to say, just like I've never been more excited. I've never wanted to be a CEO of anything. It's the worst job in the world at any company. But I couldn't not do this. The opportunity we saw with Broadside, the fun that people are having, just that it's the right team, it's the right time, it's the right tech. I think this is going to be one of the coolest brands in the metaverse if we're successful at what we want to do.
I have to say, on a personal note, having a Broadsider and also Backhouse, it's just been such an amazing journey, man. And thank you for putting all this together. Like this has been a very, very fun journey. I've met so many wonderful people because of it, and it's all because of Backhouse and Broadside. So thank you.
Mate, that was not intentional. Like the same thing happened. Like once Backhouse minted, and just this community just showed up. It's like, oh my God, you guys are amazing. And then Broadside, it was like this other community smashed through the wall. Who are you guys? And it was like, what the fuck?
You're my friend.
Yeah, like, it was just crazy to see all these communities come together, and then different NFT projects that we've collaborated with. It's like that, where it's just like, it's true. It's really true. None of them are as strong as all of us. Like, I think this is a special moment that we should savor. Like, if you're here right now, if you're in NFT projects and communities that you care about, like this, people keep talking about, this is winter. This is the golden age, I think. Like, this is formative years of a culture that is going to spread to everybody on Earth. I haven't had this much fun since pirate radio. It's just the same. And if you're here and you're in it, you understand that. And I think soon everybody else will. But that'll mean it will change, but that'll be good and bad.
And the key is feeling that energy during a bear market. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
That's it, man. Well, look, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure to chat with you guys.
Thanks so much for coming on, and make sure to follow at Broadside NFT on Twitter. We'll make sure to include all the socials down below in the details. And Matt, thanks again for coming on. We look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, me too. Likewise. Thank you.